Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. You have such a lovely place. And thanks for being here and making meeting in spiritual community part of your priority in your life. That's important. So I can tell the topic is the right one, fearlessness. So we all have heard all the definitions of fear, and we need to look at a little bit about how fear affects people differently. You know, it really does. Some people just freeze up. They seem to just can't move. Some people can't speak. Some people react right away instead of thinking things through. Others go into a depression and they just kind of go into a funk because they feel helpless. And some people feel fear and they start worrying and they just can't seem to let it go. Some people eat more when they're fearful. Some people can't eat. I remember a number of years ago, one of my nieces was having her first child, and she had some kind of, one of these detailed tests, and it said, oh, your child has this 1 in 10,000 chance of this, some kind of cellular thing. And I was like, 1 in 10,000, and she was really worried about it. And I said, okay, it's 1 in 10,000, so give yourself 5 minutes of worry every day. Set your phone alarm and worry from 12 o'clock to 12:05, and that's it. And so some people are more prone to worrying than others, aren't they? It seems to me it's how you grew up, and if you grew up with worrying parents or a worrying grandparent, you tend to have more of a tendency to worry. Give yourself, it really works, because your mind and your body say, oh, okay, I know I have that time set aside and I can do it. Certainly, when we're fearful, there's some good reasons we're fearful. What happens when the first time your child has to get stitches, or the first time you lose a new pet? You just kind of really feel it. And, there's fear that is useful, like when we hear the, with that train sound of a tornado, or we hear on the radio or on our phones that some storm's coming and we have to prepare. So some fears are important for our survival. I always go back to that stellar teacher, Byron Katie, who says, when you hear something and it brings up fear, is it true? Is it really true? And that's always an interesting question to ask, isn't it? Because our minds are constructed, so we tend to grab on to more of the negativities than the positivities. And we can get into those negative ruts more easily than swinging out of them or creating more different neural connections. And the media knows this, don't they? Did you notice this week that anytime somebody in the last 2 weeks flubbed up on the something on the Olympic thing, the first thing on the phone was, who flubbed up? And it's like, you know what? That is just, why do they do that? Because they know. And I thought, I'm not clicking on any of that. They're not going to be able to track me on that. I thought it was so rude. So what does it take, then, to be fearless? What does it take to be a person who is unruffled no matter what? What does it take to be a person who's always the calm in the midst of the storm? What does that take? Do you have somebody like that in your life? Think about it. Maybe somebody in your family or your group of friends, some spouse just nudged one another. Luckily, there's one of those in the family, huh? Sometimes it's somebody in a spiritual community. It's useful to have a witness of someone who has mastered fear. And I happen to have a friend. She is 98. She had 9 kids. Her name is Lou Bruchette. And it doesn't matter. I happened to serve with her when I was back in the 90s when I was in Palm Springs. But it didn't matter what happened, who it happened to, what was going on. She remained unflappable no matter what. She's been a truth student for some 60 years. And what she knows is this. There is one power, one presence in the universe, God, period. And that presence, God or the God force or whatever your name for it, that God force is always showing us the way. What we do know is what we give our time, our attention, our feeling, our speech to manifests. It's a law. And so we always have to mind our mind. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world as it appears now, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, most of us probably have enjoyed some of the Olympics this last couple weeks. And, those athletes, they have singularly focused minds. They just want to be the best they can possibly be. And we watched incredible, magnificent, flawless feats and performances. As we listened to some of the interviews, though, it reminded us of those thousands of hours of practice, of blood, of sweat, of tears they put into being the creme de la creme, the best in the world. It's their life. Some of them, they said, they started when they were toddlers, 2 and 3 years old. So, as the Olympics close today, What if we picked up that Olympic baton and decided to be spiritual Olympians of fearlessness? Why would we do that, first of all? Well, because we're New Thought thinkers, aren't we? And we're the ones that are bringing forth a kinder, gentler, more peace-filled world. It's up to us. We're the ones that are providing the scaffolding for the upliftment of consciousness on the planet. So it's really up to us to do the work. And we have to do it every moment, every hour, every day, right? Because that's what it takes to be a champion, doesn't it? It takes persistence and practice again and again and perseverance. So what would that look like to be a spiritual champion of fearlessness? And how would we do it? Well, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, when we hear about negativity, whether it's in the news or we hear something that we know is not true that the media is blasting, even if we disagree with it, we know we can't resist it, because that's the same level of the problem. So we can't talk about it to our friends and say, oh, did you? We can't do that. And so, deep down, if you're a fighter and you really have a challenge with non-resistance, go online and read a free PDF. Read Imelda Shanklin's book called What Are You? And she has, I think, the most inspirational chapter on non-resistance. I think it's the last chapter in the book. I think she just got the download from Spirit. And it's about non-resistance. The book is What Are You? It's a free PDF online. So instead of going against it, we have to go a different way, don't we? We must be, if we're going to do this, if we're really going to be spiritual Olympians of fearlessness, we have to be God-centered, and we have to be God-centered all the time. And that's who and what we are, aren't we? Aren't we? All right. So we want to call up whatever it is that we disagree with or whatever it is we disbelieve or any of the negativity. We want to call it up higher, whether it's the person, the people, the event, the place, whatever it is. We want to continually send it light and love. Charles Filmer, co-creator of Unity, wrote, "Love is a great force that dissolves all the opposers of true thought and thus smooths all the obstacles of life." And yes, that is what the world needs now. Love, sweet love, and more of it. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Yeah. Oof. Because we know as we continue as an Olympian, persisting, persevering, practicing every day, if we consistently call everything up higher, absolutely everything, it will respond to us, because we are the God force on the planet, aren't we? We are God's hands and feet and emails and voices. We are God. So, and as the Course in Miracles students know, let us not spend too much time on this reality the way it looks, because we know there is a greater reality. And so we can't argue with this reality as it appears, or let it capture too much of our attention on our electronic devices, because then we're going to stay at that level of consciousness. And we're ready to move up to a higher level of consciousness. Is anyone ready to move up to a higher level of consciousness? Yeah, I think we all are. So what would we do if we really wanted to be a spiritual Olympian of fearlessness? Well, first of all, we have to kind of detox our minds for a little bit. We have to pull out the weeds that say, oh, I can't do this, or I'm too busy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not powerful enough. No, we have to delve in and know and realize and be that second principle. We are part of God. We are that God essence on the planet. We have to remember that is why we're here now. So what we do is we cleanse any of those disbeliefs. We clear out the weeds, and then we lay some fertile ground, and that's the good suggestion of prayer meditation time as we continue to purify and cleanse our consciousness and really listen to that still small voice before we take action. To be fearless means we are faith-driven. We're believers. We keep on keeping on. We know. We persist. We believe and we know that the light is always stronger than the dark. We know there's one power and there is one presence. Error or evil does not exist in the absolute. And of course, because we have free will, there's plenty of error on the consciousness. Have we seen enough of it? Yeah, I think we have. And as more of it is exposed, we remember it's all coming up for healing, for a total cleansing. So we remember many of the passages of the gospel if we doubt ourselves and who we are. Whatever you ask for in prayer, you are answered. I am with you. You are protected. So that means don't be afraid to stand for your truth or stand out for your truth if necessary. Ye are God's. So we all have the power, and it is for us to use and create. Fearlessness means we remember all things are possible. Absolutely everything is possible with God. And it's not I, but the Christ within that does the work. So if we take on that cloak of I am consciousness and we prepare that fertile soil for our consciousness through our prayer and meditation, and we listen to that still small voice, we can be real creators of this new earth. And we can set the intention to be spiritual Olympians of fearlessness. We can do it simply. We can set the alarm in the morning a little bit, 15 minutes earlier. Just picture the day and picture you being a spiritual Olympian. Picture all your interactions going beautifully, all your meetings going beautifully, and picture yourself empowered with that I am Christ consciousness. And we can be innovators and real creators, and it's not going to happen with our thinking mind. So you remember the story. It's in the Gospels of Luke and John of the disciples fishing and grumbling as fisher people do when they don't catch anything. Yep. And the nets were on the left side of the boat. That represents our logical mind, our thinking mind. And Jesus said, no, don't put the nets on the left side of the boat. Put the nets on the right side of the boat. Your intuitive mind, your listening mind, your creative mind. Put it there. And they did, and then there was a supply of fish, which represents ideas and supply of abundant ideas. So metaphysically, the right side is always the side of truth, the side of power. Wherever you are, the nets are filled with ideas because you're in touch with the infinite storehouse of wisdom when we're using the right side of our mind, when we're in the quiet, when we're not listening to anything else, when we're pulling weeds in the garden, when we're cleaning the garage or washing the kitchen floor or doing whatever we're doing. Fish represent ideas. Jews just use the example of fish often because it represents the inexhaustible, everywhere present supply. So we can do this. We set an intention to be a spiritual athlete of fearlessness, then we wait on guidance as to what we're to do. Then we act on that guidance. We don't say, oh, I don't know, I don't think I should do this. No, we actually act on the guidance. So it's a simple process, and it's going to require courage. So thinking about taking on being a spiritual athlete of fearlessness is a simple idea, but it's going to take constant discipline to be a disciple, to possess the spiritual athleticism of Olympian caliber. So are we going to fall off track some days? You bet. I do. And we bring ourselves back. We bring ourselves back to the mat or back to the work. So today is August 8th. It is said to be one of the luckiest days of the year. Did you know that? How many people know that? Look it up on the web. Yeah. So it has something to do with the Lionsgate portal and the Star of Sirius. And it's a portal that is bringing a window of opportunity, and this is what it says, where we can set intentions, embrace abundance, create new beginnings, and get this. It is said to be an extra right time for spiritually leveling up. Okay, so if one of your intentions this lifetime is to live from your full divinity, I invite you to pick up that Olympic baton today on this mystical day of August 8th and begin. And I'm going to set the stage right now as we go into meditation, because in this meditation, as we relax, we're going to pick the sport that we're best at. I know there's somebody here that has the sport of enthusiasm and joy. And the sport can be anything. It can be love, it can be forgiveness, it can be a bringer of peace, it can be non-attachment, it can be racial justice, it can be generosity, kindness, patience, whatever you want. So we're going to go into meditation now, and as we do, we're going to take a full deep breath. And those of you that are accustomed to holding it at the top, I encourage you to hold your breath at the top for a little bit. And as we exhale fully, we let all the breath out. And we breathe in another 1 or 2 full 4-part deep breaths, filling our lower stomach, lower chest, upper chest cavity. And we hold it if you're accustomed to doing so. And as we're relaxed and our mind is open, the Holy Spirit is bringing us that gift, that virtue, that best piece, or one of the best pieces of who we are, to be a Olympian spiritual champion of fearlessness. Because we are the light and the love of the world. And as each of us persists, we change the world. So let us pause for a minute here and listen. And as we gently and easily bring our attention, our awareness back to this time and place, maybe we receive the gift, maybe it will come later today or in dream time or sometime tomorrow. But I know I see the Christ in you doing the work and being those Olympian champions of spiritual fearlessness. Namaste.
Spirit, flow through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding peace. Show, Spirit, show through me as I open up to be an expression of your